Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to do a unboxing tutorial and review of the brand new Canon VIXIA HF G60. This is huge, by the way. I didn't know the box would be this big. Now this is going to be a completely unbiased review. I am not being paid for this, neither did anybody send me the camera. I bought this camera with my own money, so the review is going to be totally unbiased. Okay, this thing is huge. It is really huge. And you can look at it from different angles. Look at it from this angle, look at it from this angle. It's huge. Okay, all right, so let's take this puppy apart and see what we have. Wow, this is indeed really big. This is indeed really big. With this size, I'm expecting that they should have some kind of a case. Let's see if they do. Okay, so we have the receipt, we have the book, and what do we have here? We have a battery pack. Let me get this thing straight there. Okay, so we have a battery pack, a lens hood, okay, and we have a remote control. We have a power cord, obviously. We have a small lithium battery, a 3-volt lithium battery, carbon filter for the cord, which you put like this, you know, the AC adapter, and last but not least, the actual camera. Okay, so the camera is huge. There is no case. I was thinking that it's such a big box they must give you a free case, but wow, this thing is huge. This is huge compared to my other Sony VIXIA. Okay, so let me get the case out of the way. And is there anything else underneath? Maybe there's something underneath. No, there isn't. There's nothing underneath. It's just a box. Okay, so now it's time to review this. You saw the unboxing. This is the time for review. Okay. So the camera is huge, as you can see, like it's bigger on your hand, and the grip, it's pretty heavy camera. Let's see how much the camera weighs without the battery. We're gonna see the weight of the camera without the battery. Wow, 2.2 pounds without the battery, and if you put the battery on it, you're looking at, look at that, 2.2 pounds and 5 ounces. So this is 2 pounds and 5 ounces. It's a huge camera. Okay, all right, so let's get this out of the way. Okay, so now let's talk about different functionalities of this camera and what each one does. Okay. The camera has a smaller LCD screen than its predecessor, such as the G20 and so on. This is G60 with a smaller LCD screen. The G20 LCD screen was much bigger. As a comparison, I'm going to show you both cameras side by side. Okay, so here we have a G20 in action, and here's the new G60. Look how smaller that is. Look at that. It's way smaller. Let me put it this way so you can see. Look at that. The entire frame, the dark frame around this, is equal to visible area on the previous models. So there they kind of basically how I should say, they cut the corners and saved a few bucks by making the screen smaller. I don't know why would they do that. Okay, other than that, the camera is a pretty good camera, well built, and let's go on, go explain all the buttons around it. So here we have a focus and zoom button. What does that mean? That means if you put this in zoom, this manual ring will control your zoom. If you put this in focus, this manual ring will control your focus. Now this will be only functional if you enable the ring, focus and zoom. If it's not enabled from software, which I'm going to show you later, then this movement of this will not make any difference regardless where this is. This camera has ND filters. What is ND filter, you would say? Well, ND filter stands for natural density filter, which is basically like sunglasses for your camera. Makes the image darker. If it's too sunny, too bright, you use ND filters. Now some would say, why do I use ND filter? Why don't I just lower the aperture opening, or why don't I increase the shutter speed? The reason for that is if you want to get, if you don't want depth of field, and if you want to get the background out of focus, then you cannot afford to increase your aperture. If you increase your aperture, you will generate depth of field and your background will be in focus. For example, right now I don't have depth of field. See how out of focus that keyboard is there? See how out of focus that camera is? Because I don't have depth of field. I don't want to have depth of field. I want myself to be the subject under the focus and when I'm talking. So this is something the photographers, professional photographers would like to have. Now I could have a better lens. My lens is not even, I'm still getting some depth of field. I mean, those things are still visible, but there are lenses out there that I could attach to my camera, which gives me complete blurry background. So that's the reason why you cannot increase your aperture in certain scenarios as this, because you lose depth of field. That's why. Okay. So all right. So let's go to we explained ND filter, and now the customization button. I'm going to talk to you about the customization or custom button and what this little roller does. Okay, so the custom button is to control the exposure, the IRIS, the shutter, and the gain. So if you want to customize it, you press the custom, and then with the dial you will control it manually. Same thing with the gain. You press the button to customize it, and you with this you control the shutter manually. Same thing with gain. Also, you could do the AGC limit with this. AGC means automatic gain control. You can control the AGC with this dial by pressing customization or custom. That depends on what settings you have here. Keep in mind that whatever settings, depending on what settings you have on the camera, which buttons will function and which will not function based on the settings that you have enabled. For example, if my camera buttons right here, if it is in media, I have one set of menus here. If it is an auto or manual, I have a different set of menus. So each one is different. Okay. This right here is your joystick, where you can go up, down, right, left, and press to enter. This is your menu button. This is how you navigate with the menu when you're looking through the viewfinder if you don't want to use the touch screen. If you want to use the touch screen, then you could do the same thing. Let me turn this on. You could do the same thing with this as you could with your finger on the touch screen, so you don't necessarily have to use this. However, it is sometimes handy because the touch screen is not as good, as sensitive as you would think it is, and it's smaller touch screen, so it is handy to use the button sometimes. Okay, so now we will talk about I'll go into the menus and whatnot, but before I'm going to talk about all the buttons. Okay, so this is the magnification button, which magnifies the image so you can get a better focusing help, and it only works in certain settings. It will not work in all settings. You have to be in manual setting for it to work. This is the speaker through which you could play back your recorded videos. This is your telephoto wide and telephoto button or zoom button. Now remember that this could be adjusted to be variable speed or one speed. You could have it to be faster depending on how you press it, like a car accelerator, or you could program it to go the fastest or one speed, constant speed, regardless how much pressure you put on it. This is the eject door eject button that opens up the memory card slot. You can put 2 memory cards here. The memory card that you put here, you could have it record simultaneously on both of them for safety reasons, like if one card fails, the other one will have your image or your video. Or you could do it one at a time, so when this card fills up, the other one will fill up. Or you could have it like a ghost of this one, like they do with SCSI drives, to have record on this and then later it transfers to this. So these are the settings that you can do. Now this is the little port opening. What kinds of ports do we have here? Let me open this. Okay, so here we have mini HDMI out, mini HDMI out. We have micro mini USB out for hooking it up to a computer. By the way, this is mini USB, not micro. And this is also a mini HDMI out. This is headphone port, and this is microphone port to use an external microphone. Now you would think, why this is like a professional camera, but how come it doesn't have XLR microphone inputs? First of all, this is not the top-notch professional camera. It is professional full frame, but they have many Canon has many cameras that are way better than this. So this is like middle of the road type of camera. And you could attach professional mics to this from here. This actually has a lot of connectors here. If you look through, you see like those pins. It has a lot of connectors that you can hook up a GPS receiving device. You can hook up a microphone. You could hook up a directional microphone, zoom microphone. You can even hook up one of those professional microphones that hooks up to here and here, like a handle that you can get it from. And it even has XLR inputs and all kinds of other stuff on the handle microphone itself. So this is a multi-purpose port where you could add all kinds of goodies to the camera. The camera has obviously, like all cameras, it has a tripod, and it has a tripod movement stopper, which prevents the tripod from moving, the camera from moving this way. And this is your battery lock. The battery is standard battery, so that's why it's smaller, but they have extended batteries that when you put that battery, you will have a hard time looking through the viewfinder. For that, they have made the viewfinder to pull out, so it can accommodate bigger battery, and you could still look. But even if that is inconvenient, if it's too close to your nose or what have you, you can pull this to up to 45 degrees up and look at it from there. Now the battery, no matter how big it is not going to be interfering with you. Now let's talk about the viewfinder. The viewfinder has a focus button. Why is this important? This is important because if you're wearing eyeglasses, like reading glasses, you don't need it to look at the viewfinder. You put your eye here, and then you could focus this to match the view of your eye. So basically, this focusing button that slides back and forth, it will adjust the lenses inside the viewfinder to replace the need for your eyeglasses. So you can watch the footage with your bare eyes, even if you're wearing reading glasses or other prescription glasses. Okay, so now I said enough about the external buttons, and let's open the puppy and see what we have in the screen. Now obviously this is automatic focus and manual focus, and this is power image stabilizer. Now believe it or not, this camera is equipped with 5-axis image stabilizer, which is very good for image stabilization. And mechanical is much better than optical, because when optical image stabilization, you basically let me explain how optical image stabilization works. This way you understand why mechanical is much better. Okay, so let's say this is a sensor of basically a sensor of 4K, a 4K sensor, full frame. And this portion of it, this is too small, but just I know this is way too small, but assume this is the portion of it which is 1080p. Now, when you have optical digital image stabilization, when the camera moves and you are at 1080p using a 4K sensor, your image moves like this because the camera moves, so the image moves like this. So what this does is, as the image moves like this, it captures the area where the image is without any stabilization loss or jerkiness on the image. So basically, the capture, if the image moves here and then back here, this movement all are under the same 4K sensor. Now, what if you have a 4K sensor? If this 4K sensor, if you're using the entire 4K sensor, then your optical images, digital image stabilization is not going to work very good, because you will be losing the corners as it moves this way and this way. So that's why the mechanical image stabilization is much better, and this has a mechanical image stabilization, which I was impressed with actually when I made some videos with that. Okay, so now what do you see here in this screen depends on what the settings are in here. For example, if the setting is on manual, you see some other menu items in the screen. If the setting is in automatic, you see a different menu items. So this is a very complex camera with a lot of different settings based on understanding all of them. I will give you a quick example. If I am in automatic, and if I press menu, obviously menu is right here. I already showed you where the menu is. I'm going to press menu. These are the options that are available to me, but notice the autofocus and all that is grayed out. Why is it grayed out? Because I am in auto. This is an auto. So if I want this to be available, I go to manual. Okay. When I go to manual and then again I press menu, let me press menu, and I go here, we have autofocus options available. We have the autofocus frame size, autofocus speed, response, and everything, because this is a manual. Okay, so that's why depending if you're on auto and manual, different menu items will be available. First I'm going to explain manual, auto, and then I'm going to go to manual so you can understand both. Obviously I'm going to zoom so you can see better. Now I could have used, let me tell you something, I could have used the HDMI output from this camera to feed it and basically give you a recording from that, but then you wouldn't see my finger as I'm pressing the buttons. That's why I'm not doing that. Currently our ND filter is 1/4, so I'm gonna remove that. Now by the way, the ND filter is mechanical too. There is actual filter that comes in front of the lens, so that's a very good thing. Okay, so let's press menu button, the menu button under automatic. Okay, so this is an automatic. Okay, this is auto, and I press the menu button. What do I get when that's in automatic? Let's find out. When it is in automatic, the first option I have is right here. Let me put it in an angle so you could see without the reflection. So the first option that I have is zoom speed. Okay, zoom speed. You click on the zoom speed. You want it to be normal, fast, or slow. This is a no-brainer. Zoom speed. What speed you want this to work? You want the zoom to be normal, fast, or slow. That's what it is. So you choose one based on your need. Okay, let's move on. Now the zoom operation. Is the zoom operation enable or disable? If you disable it, the zoom is not going to work. If you enable it, the zoom will work. Now this is the zoom operation from the grip. The grip is right here. This is the grip. This is the zoom operation from the grip. Okay, so when it says zoom operation from the grip, it doesn't mean that it will disable the zoom altogether, because you could still zoom from the ring in the front, which is this guy. You could zoom from here, or you could zoom from the screen, from the plus and minus buttons, which I'm going to show you later. So this is solely enabling and disabling the grip zoom. Okay, now we have the zoom speed. The zoom speed is variable or constant. I explained that earlier. If you choose variable, what happens is the more you press this, the faster zoom will go, the zoom in. When the more you press this, the faster the zoom out will go. And if you the lighter you press it, the slower it goes. That is called variable speed, or VAR. If you choose the constant speed, doesn't matter how fast you press those buttons, the zoom will always be at a constant rate. Okay, now wireless control zoom. The wireless control zoom speed is the zoom speed that is being controlled from here. So basically this zoom control, it is telling you if the wireless zoom control should be speed is fast or slow. Currently is right in the middle at 8, but you can change it to faster or slower zoom. Now high speed zoom is on. The high speed zoom is if you want to zoom into something rapidly, especially in like games and stuff. Now that high speed zoom is from here, very high speed, and that is currently in on position, but you could turn it off. Why would you want to turn off the fast zoom? Because sometimes it really brings bad footage when you immediately zoom at high speed. So basically, if a good cinematographer or a videographer is a person who creates more stable to the eye imagery or scenery, not something that will really shock. Obviously, there are certain areas where you have to present like really shocking zoom, but you know, that's what that is. Okay, now this was all these settings that we went through was in page 1 of the camera setup. Now the camera setup has 4 pages. Now we are going to page 2. Now how can I go to page 2? I can press number 2 like that, number 1, number 2, or I could push this button to the right. If I push the button to the right, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see that. Excuse me. Okay, so if I want to go to page 2 using this button, watch, page 2. But I'm going to go back to page 1 because I want to teach you using the touch screen. So that's why I'm going to zoom back in and show you how to use it via the touch screen. So let's go to page 2. Okay, in page 2, why is everything grayed out? Because we are in automatic. If you're in automatic, none of those options are available for you. Okay, that's why they're grayed out. Okay, let's go to page number 3. Oops, no, page 3. It's very, very sensitive. Okay. Okay, the page 3 gives you focus preset speed. Okay, let me click on that. You could have a slow focus, you could have a normal or a fast. Why would you want a slow focus? I always want fast focus. I want the unit to focus on my subject immediately. Now there are some music videos that the focus comes in slowly, you know, but you know, that's not something I'm interested in. Okay, now we have auto slow shutter. What is auto slow shutter? Auto slow shutter is that if you go to somewhere where it's very dark and the image requires slow shutter speed, that will automatically kick in. If you don't want auto slow shutter, then you turn it off and it will never do automatically. Okay. Okay, flicker reduction, that's a no-brainer. If you want flicker reduction on or off, and wide. Now, by the way, I clicked on conversion lens. This way. Okay, so this you could leave it off or you could leave it on automatic so it doesn't flicker under different frequencies of incandescent lights and what have you. So now I must tell you that flicker reduction is handy when you're using in shooting in countries where the line frequency is 50 hertz. In the United States it's 60 hertz, but even at 60 hertz sometimes you get flickers from the you know, fluorescent or incandescent lights. So that's flicker reduction should be on if you're shooting indoors basically, and should be turned off when you're outdoors. Okay. Now conversion lens. This currently there aren't any conversion lenses attached to this, but if you were to attach the telephoto lens or conversion lens, wide angle lens, then you need to choose which one you have installed and accordingly, you know, choose that. Image stabilizer. The image stabilizer can be dynamic, which I like. It could be standard or it could be off. Dynamic will cover horizontal, vertical, forward, backward movement all around. So basically, let me grab something and show you. Actually, I'm going to zoom out and show you. With dynamic image stabilization, if the camera moves like this from your hand, 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 or like this from your hand, all these movements will stabilize the image to a certain degree, not a lot, but to a certain degree. So if your camera, if you have movement this way, you will have a stabilization this way. If you have movement this way, you have stabilization. Okay, and same thing with forward and backwards, up and down, or this way and this way, you know. But if you use standard, it will cut off some of the stabilization. So I like the dynamic. Okay, let's go to page number 4. Okay, now the page number 4 deserves zooming into so you can see better. Okay, in page 4, zoom in more. Okay, that's much better. Okay, in page 4 we have camera IS button, the camera image stabilization button. Is it how you want that button to be? You want it to be on and off, or you want it to stay on? I'm going to explain this. If you say on and off, what happens? Let's put it in on and off. Watch. When you're in on and off, so watch that thing right there. Let me grab a little thing. Watch that right there. It's on, and now it's off, right? On, off. Dynamic and powered, switches between dynamic and powered. Okay, now if I go to menu, where's my menu? If I go to menu and change this to press and hold, watch what happens now. Now it's only on while I'm pressing it. As soon as I remove my hand, it's off. The power image stabilization is off. See, dynamic, power. Okay, so that's why you want it to be on. It's a no-brainer. I want it on. Okay, I mean to leave on and off, hold, you know, I don't want it to be pressed to hold. That's why press and hold. Okay, all right. So set white balance priority. Why is that grayed out? It's grayed out because we are in auto mode. Okay, you cannot set the white balance if you're in auto mode. You have to be in manual mode. Okay, focus zoom ring operation enable. Would you like the zoom ring to control your focus? Right, that's what that is. On, enabled, or disabled. It's currently enabled. Focus ring direction, normal or reverse. You could choose. You could choose normal or reverse. What does that mean? Okay, that's a no. It's a self-explanatory. Reverses. If you go this way, it's one direction. This way, the other direction. And the reverse will simply reverse this movement. Same thing with zoom. Zoom in, zoom out. If you reverse it, zoom out, zoom in, like that. Okay. Focus ring response. You want it to be fast or slow? How quickly you want this focus ring to respond. Depending on your hands and how you're used to, you could pick the fast or the slow. Zoom ring direction, same thing. Zoom normal or reverse. Do you want to zoom in this way and zoom out this way, or you want to zoom out this way and zoom in this way? Normal or reversed? Leave it normal because that's what everybody's used to. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4 is camera setup, which we went through under the auto switch being enabled. Okay, it will be a different world when I change it to manual. Okay, I'm just going through auto right now. Now we have focus preset speed. I'm sorry, I already went through that. Now we have recording setup. Okay, recording setup is what kind of resolution you want, what frame rate you want, what recording media you want, and all that. Resolution, remember we have 4K. This is 4K. When you see 3840 by 2160, that's 4K, by the way. When you have 1920 by 1080, that is high definition. But the super high definition, that's 1920 1080 at 17 megabytes, and this is, you know, lower definition. This is 720p. That's what that is. Okay, now let me explain what each one means. If you use 4K recording, you will be using 100 megabits per second. That's a lot. Your memory will fill up a lot faster. If you use this setting, you will be using 35 megabits per second. If you use this setting, you will use 17 megabits per second, and this one is 8 megabits per second. Okay, that's the data rate. That's not the storage capacity. Data rate, bit rate, I should say. Okay, that's the bit rate. So keep that in mind, which one you want to use. All right. Now the frame rate. Remember, I told you this is grayed out. Why is that grayed out? Because 4K does not support 60 frames per second. That's why. This camera is not expensive enough to shoot 4K at 60 frames. The maximum it can shoot is 4K at 30 frames. And if I want you to shoot 60 frames, I have to choose 1080p. Okay? Now I chose 1080p. Now my frame rate is available to choose even 60 frames per second. Okay? So now you know. If some options are grayed out because something else in the menu needs to be changed for that option to be available. Recording media. This is a no-brainer. Would you like it to record like movies on one card, pictures on the other card? Or you want to record on both of them simultaneously? Or if you want to record you know, photos and pictures simultaneously on both cards, you know, you can set it up. So record media for movies. This one, now it's recording movies there. Now it's in this one. Same thing for photos. Okay. Now, dual relay recording. This is important. Standard recording. Okay. So now it's a standard recording, means it is recording on a single one. Okay. Now dual recording, it's recording on both cards simultaneously. Now relay recording. What is relay recording? Relay recording is that if one SD card becomes full, it will automatically jump to the other SD card, the second SD card, without any pause or delay in your footage. Okay. Now this camera is also equipped with dual recording. Like in the dual recording, you could have a 4K and a MP4 recording on the other card. So you could have that too. So slow and fast motion is unavailable because of the other settings. Available space and memory, that's a no-brainer. It tells you how much space you have. I only have one memory card there. So it's only giving me the data for SD card A. This SD card B is empty. Okay. All right. So recording setup, page 2. And page 2, initialize, means to format the SD card and, you know, set it up. So you could have initialize basically it's, you know, memory card format, which one you want to format. I don't want to format it. Okay. Record command, you could have that on or off. That's basically if you command it to record. Leaving the record command on allows the external HDMI recording device to control the record of the camera. So basically external HDMI device will have control of the camera through its interface and buttons and screen if you leave the record command on. Okay, HDMI time code. This is very important. With this on, the camera will output the timecode signal to the external recording device. Basically, it will tell it how much recording is done on the SD card, how much time is left, and all that. So that's what that is. Time code mode. You could have presets, or you could have based on region, wherever you are. Okay. Timecode running mode. There are two running modes. Oops, I'm in the wrong menu item. This is they're so close together, so when you press the wrong one. Okay, so if you're running a slow motion video, if you're recording a slow motion video, and the time will slow down, but if you leave it free run, the time will continuously run without slowing down the time in the slow motion image. But if you put it in record run, what happens is if you slow down the slow motion, the time will also slow down. So it's good. It's an important feature if you're shooting in sport mode, like sport mode and what have you. Okay. The NDF means drop frame and non-drop frame. So when you do drop frame and non-drop frame, that is like if you want to do time-lapse videography, or you want to do slow motion. Basically what you're saying is, should it drop the frames or not drop the frame, and reduce the timing of each frame in order to give you the scene, record the scene how you want it to be done. So if you choose the drop frame, then you will have a little jump between frames, because some frames will drop in between. But then if you're speeding that up to show like time-lapse videography, then that's not noticeable with naked eye. Okay, so this is the recording setup, page 3. From initial time code, you could set the initial time of your clip. You could change this if you want the minute, hour, second, and 1/10 of a second, 100th of a second. You could adjust it accordingly, whichever one you want. Okay, and then we have user bit type. User bit type can be selected by your own code. You can create your own code, or you could choose the time to find it or a date to find. So that's something that you could choose. By default it's time, so let's leave it at that. Color bars. You could have the color bars off, or you could choose SMPTE or ARIB. What are all these options? This is actually for professional videographers. Those if you remember in some settings where a TV station is off, they don't have a broadcast, they have color bars on the screen. So basically the camera will generate those color bars, and you could have one of those kinds that are like bars like this, and then you have black and white bars, or the one with a circle. So basically that's what that is. It's only for pros. You don't have to worry. In average day use, professionals will know what that means. This is the 1 kilohertz tone. Okay, so in professional settings, this is also something very professional. When you're outputting from this camera to HDMI to feed it to like professional production studio or something, the camera will generate 1 kilohertz tone, so they could set up their mic levels, and that 1 kilohertz tone could be at -12 decibels, -18, -20, or it could be off. So you could choose that. Okay. Again, this is not something you use in average videography. MP4 clip photo numbering. Okay, so you could have continuous or reset. I like continuous. Why? Because if you have reset, then you will have similar file names in your computer post-production when you try to edit. So I love continuous on that. Okay, so that was all about recording setup. Now we will go to microphone. Now why all of these are grayed out? I will explain to you why they're grayed out. Okay. because the reason why they're grayed out is because this is on automatic, so this has to be manual. Let me show you. This has to be in manual settings in order for us to, and also the settings from function has to be manual. This one has to be manual in order for us to do that, so to show you that. So I will go into that later. So let's go here. HDMI max resolution. This is the output resolution. Okay, so this is not the HDMI resolution, recording resolution. This is the output, what it puts out. Basically, it is talking about the resolution coming out of this port right here. Coming out of this port, HDMI out, what kind of resolution will you be getting from that HDMI port? Okay, that's what it's talking about. Okay, currently it's set to 1920 by 1080, but you could change it to 1280 by 720 at 59 frames per second. Okay, all right. So HDMI scan mode. Okay, you could have it automatically scan, and basically based on that put the have the output, or you could force it to be 1080i, which is interlaced. So I don't like interlaced. You have, it's not the quality is lower, so I don't want to do that. I don't recommend it. I mean, output status, video output, audio output. We want them both, obviously. Okay. LCD brightness. It's a no-brainer. You just move this bar back and forth to adjust the brightness. You know, like that. When that orange line is lit, that's the default. Okay, leave it there. LCD backlight, normal, bright, normal, or dim. So normal is the best option for me, but you have to choose bright if you're outdoors. That's one thing you have to know. Now, choosing the bright will kill your battery faster, so there are flaws. I mean, good and bad in both of them. This is your viewfinder brightness. You could go normal or bright. I don't recommend bright on the viewfinder because it's not good for your eyes, but again, it's up to you. So now this was display setup. Now let's go to system setup. Language is English. You could change it if you want to. Time zone, daylight standard time. You know DST, daylight saving. You know, it's currently. You know, you choose which area you want to choose, this and that, what time zone you're in. Date and time, you choose from there. If you want to change the date and time, you know that I did already. Like, you know, go back and forth like this, go back and forth. So, wireless remote control, on or off. Oops, that was the wireless remote control, off or on. You leave it on, why not? Power LED, on or off. That's good to have it on. Access LED, on or off. These are the LEDs. That's what LEDs are, by the way. This is LED, so you know you could turn it on and off. So power LED, if I turn it off, watch what happens. It's off. Because let me zoom out so you see it at the same time. So watch this LED. On, off. Okay, leave it on. I leave it on. Why not? Okay. All right. So zoom in again. Okay. So what else do we have here? Access LED. That's same thing. Okay. Now let's go. Let's exit. And now we will go to manual. Now we will change this to manual. Now we have a completely different menu item. Let's press menu and see what I mean. So digital zoom. Okay, digital zoom, on or off. It's currently off. I don't want to turn it on because it distorts the image. Now digital zoom is okay if you're shooting 1080p because it doesn't distort the image. It simply picks up smaller region. For example, like I said earlier, if this is your 4K sensor and you're only using the 1080p, then you know You're using smaller portion of the sensor. But one thing I have to admit on this camera, even, listen carefully, this is important, even if you're a pro, you need to listen to this. This camera, even if you're shooting 1080p, it uses the entire 4K sensor and downscales it with the chip, the most advanced chip. This has a Digic DV6 sensor, Digic DV6 processor, video processor, which uses the entire 4K sensor and downscale it to 1080p, so you're not losing quality as much. Okay, so having that said, digital zoom is not a good idea after all. Okay, zoom, speed, level, normal, fast, we already went through that. Grip, operational, operations enabled. Grip, zoom speed, variable. Wireless, control, zoom speed, we already went through those things. Okay, automatic focus is still not option, is still not available because the we are not in that mode yet. Like this, let me show you. I'll go to that later. So, you know, focus presets, we already went through that. Okay, all of these things are the same. This is still not available. I'm gonna tell you why this is not available. Okay, everything else is the same. Settings, language, this and that. Okay, now I'm gonna tell you why this is not available, why this is grayed out. Okay, here's why. So you have to exit first. When you exit, you go to function. In function, you have to come down and choose this. Choose this. Currently is an automatic mic gain control. If you want to go to manual, now those buttons are available. Okay, in manual microphone control. Let's go back now and see what I'm talking about. Close this, and now we will go to the same menu. Okay, I have to be in manual, I'm sorry, manual, you have to be in manual. Okay, in addition to that, you have to be in manual. Okay, now we go here. Oops, I have to do that again, sorry. So you have to be manual, and you have to be here in this, and choose this to be manual. Okay, now it should be available, those buttons that I was talking about. Let's go to menu. 1 second. Why is it not available? Okay, for custom microphone setup, this does not have to be in manual. This is just for video, for exposure. This can be in regular mode, program mode. Then you go to function, and then right here you have to, this right here, you have all these. Scroll down, and then right here choose this option, and then choose this one. From here you have to choose the one that has a little C there. You choose that one, and then you have all these options, which is, this one is a standard, in most situation you need that. This one is capture sound vibrantly as it appears, ideal for like as it spreads, ideal for recording music indoors. And this one, same thing, it tells you what it does. This one is for clearly recording people's voices. This is like meeting, nature, all of these settings, right? And then if you see that little arrow, if you press that arrow, you come to like noise suppression and like city blocks and what have you. And then you have this one. This one is custom setting. If you choose this custom settings here, only then we will have these options available. All of these options. See, remember this? We went here, here, and none of these were available. Only then you have these mic options available. Now all of these are for the built-in mic. Built-in mic ATT. Okay. ATT stands for attenuator. It's the opposite of amplifier. Basically, it reduces excessive noise, reduces the sensitivity of the mic. So you can have that on or off. Built-in mic windscreen. You could have it high, or you could have it auto, low, or you could have it off. Okay. So auto high is automatic, but it's also high sensitivity and what have you. Built-in mic frequency response is normal. You could change it to LB, boost LF range, low cut filter, boost medium frequency range. This is LF is low frequency, and then we have high frequency, low frequency range. So normal is what I have chosen, but for each person it could differ based on your situation. Built-in microphone directionality. Do you want normal or do you want it to be directional microphone? You could have like wide, normal, or monaural. Monaural is not stereo. Remember that. It's single channel. Audio limiter. Oops. Audio limiter, on or off. Limit the excess of audio. Audio compressor, low, high, or off. Now all of these are available only when you go to the advanced setup. If I don't want any of these, basically if I'm too scared to touch these and ruin my image, my shooting, just go here and just go here. Oops, sorry. Just go here, function, and you see this, put it back to automatic. Now you don't have to worry about that. Even if you go here, now if you go there, hold on a second. Let me go here and turn that to standard and go here and choose automatic. And now if you go here, those options are not available. None of them are available because it's all automatic. Okay, so yeah, basically we covered most of the things. I'm sure there are, oh yeah, I forgot to cover this guy right here. I need to cover this, which I'm going to do that right now. Okay, watch. Okay, so in order to use that, the camera has to be in manual mode. And then in order to control the gain and what have you with this button right here, what you have to do, let me put this like this so you can see. What you have to do is you have to press and hold this custom button, press it and hold. Okay, now you have this little menu. From this menu, if you notice, this actual dial will move between different options that you can choose. Would you like the dial to control the exposure? Would you like the dial to compose the automatic gain control? Would you like the dial to control TV, AV in manual? All of these are controlled based on that. So let's do the exposure. If I want this dial to control the exposure, I press custom, and now watch as I move the dial. The exposure goes up and down just like that, and you could see the little digit right there, -3 right now. I'm going to go back up. Oh, wait a minute. 1 second. It got stuck in there, huh? Hold on 1 second. I don't know why it got stuck in there. Okay, for some reason it was stuck and now it's not stuck anymore. Okay, so see, now I'm overexposing it, and then I go down and underexpose it and what have you. Now I press that again, press and hold this again, and go to off and press this. Now, the gain control is stuck there. This doesn't work anymore, but because I'm in program mode and not in automatic mode, so the -1/4 is there. If I cannot change it with the dial because I turned off the dial. Want to change it back with the dial, press that, go to exposure and press this again, and now you can change it back to whatever you want to change it to, which was 0. there, plus minus 0. That's the normal one. Okay, now let's press and hold this and show you the other one, which is the automatic gain control. Okay, I'm going to press it. So now my automatic gain control is being controlled by this, by the dial. Okay, now that's not visible because it's the gain control, you don't see it. Okay, now I press and hold, and I go to this option, and now that is being controlled by my dial back and forth. Press and hold and turn off the dial. Now the dial is off and it doesn't do anything. Now obviously one thing that I didn't mention is the auto and manual focus button, which is right here. That's auto focus and manual focus. If you choose manual focus, then you have additional options for your focus in the menu. Okay, auto focus frame and all that, if you choose manual focus. And then with autofocus, with your hand, you could choose where you want the focus to be with your hand, like this, or you could turn that off. And then you have these autofocus modes right here. Currently it's face detection, but you could change it from the button, the menu which I showed earlier. Let me go there, show you again. Zoom in a little bit. You could go to the menu, and from the focus option, hold on a second. Okay, so to change this value, your camera must be in manual mode. Once you're in manual mode, then currently you could go to menu, and from menu you could go to the second, I believe, yeah, and face detection tracking, on or off. Currently it's on, you can turn it off. And now your face detection is off. I'll show you. Let me close this, and there is no face detection icon, just autofocus and manual focus. Okay, but the face detection will actually focus on your face when you're talking in front of the camera. So when you're in media, it's a different world in media playback. So you simply choose the media you want to play, and there it is, it's playing the media. And that was a short media right there. I just recorded that for testing the camera. And the functionality, you could copy from one card to another card, like dubbing. You could delete, and you could see the contents of each card. This is card A, by the way. The B, there is no B card in there right now. So yeah, so those are the functions. And then in playback you have different menus. This is when I press this, I press this menu button during the playback, when this is in media mode. So menu in media mode. Now the menus are as follows. Data code is MP4. You could date it if you want. And let's see, this the playback setup is only one page. Then here, use space memory, initialize SD card, numbering, headphone volume, speaker volume, notification volume, and you have HDMI max resolution, output status, the HDMI output, video and audio, backlight and what have you, language and time. This is the same thing exactly as it was in the play mode. So yeah, that's basically, I believe I covered everything, and I actually went over an hour. I wanted to keep it under an hour. But hey, you learned something. I hope you learned something. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to comment and let me know if I can help you further. Thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. Thank you.